Hey guys, gonna be just me today. Ian just got a shot this morning and he wasn't able to meditate, so he's feeling off. And so he's going in the house to meditate now. Since it wasn't that long that we got back and we ended up having lunch and all other stuff, so. But I'm here, so I'm ready. Ready to talk about whatever we want to talk about today. I see we have a couple people on there. We've had some rain for the last couple of days, but it's okay at the moment. It's kind of a little bit drippy out, but not very windy, so that's kind of nice. And a full moon is coming up pretty quick, like tonight, tomorrow kind of thing, depending on when you choose to do your full moon stuff, wherever you are, and what view you may or may not have. Of course, we are in the middle of a storm, so we have clouds. Hi, Philippa. How are you doing today? So I'm pretty excited that Ian got his second shot. So did my daughter this morning. So we've gotten them taken care of. And 2 weeks from now, they should be as fully protected as they can be under the circumstances until something changes. Yeah, yes, the supermoon. Frankie Gore, hi, Siofra, sending Ian well healing wishes. I'll let him know. He wishes that he was here. He's actually starting to enjoy being a part of the conversation, which is kind of nice, allowing him to step out of his box a little bit. Dylan Bernardo Kramer says, hey there, just came across your channel. Have you contact email? Yes, I do. Siofra's Magic Alcove at gmail.com. Trinity says, hi, Trinity. Clarity says, hello. Charity, I mean. But clarity's a good word, right? Okay. Hello, Charity. Jaleesa says, hi, Siofra. Hi, everyone. Philippa says, I'm good, thanks. How are you both? Yes, I think I covered that in the last minute or two. So, yeah, the sun's coming out a little bit here. So I've been having a continued interesting experiences with trying to see my aura in this past week, and got to go from just sort of seeing the purpley kind of color that I see automatically without trying to seeing the vivid green coming in and just being all around my hands, which was pretty cool. I liked that. That was kind of neat. So I never know. Every night's an adventure. Hi, Jonathan. It's so good that you've been joining us so consistently. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so I remembered after I finished my video on Beltane that I didn't talk about jumping the Beltane fires, which is another one of the traditions a lot of times that we have done in the past. And I had one of those bizarre experiences that only I seem to have when I went for a group ritual with a group of people I was taking some classes from out in the middle of the woods, and they were going to start a fire pit like in the middle of the woods. We're talking in a field of grass, and all nature was going, ah, what are you doing? So I made them build a fire break, line it with rocks and around it and stuff like that, and clear a space around that area so that when they started the fire, we wouldn't like burn the place down to the ground, because the nature spirits were pretty upset about the whole notion of just starting a fire in the middle of the field. And so when it came time for us to jump the fire, everyone, all the humans are running around yelling, yay, go ahead, you can do it, you can do it. And all the nature spirits are yelling, don't do it, don't do it. And I'm like feeling pressured by the people, and you can do it. And I finally did it and pretty much broke my ankle because I am short and I not that great a jumper, and I tripped on the other side. Then they had to pick me up and carry me down to the creek and stick my foot in the water and then take me out to the car. And yeah, so it was another one of those lessons. Always listen to the nature spirits. If they're yelling at you to not do something, pay attention. Hi, Violet. Jonathan says, it's good that you are so awesome really consistently. We really appreciate that. You're welcome. Ryder says, hello, good evening, everybody. Good day, Siofra. Hi, Ryder. Yep. Yeah, so that was sort of entertaining, but I've done other ones, where I haven't actually injured myself and I've jumped over. And when we were doing one like out in the park kind of thing where, you have fire pits or, grills or things like that, so they're not really conducive to jumping over. Sometimes we've done like a small cauldron, but you got to make sure everybody is not having long flowing clothes and things like that when they jump over the fire, because having to put a big fire out is never a good look for a ritual. But hey, hi Chantel, how are you? So that was my little story I forgot to tell everybody when I did the video on Beltane. And yeah, so that was that. So what do we want to talk about today? As predicted, I told you all from our last conversation that we had some people trying to put in links to places that aren't allowed to have links to, especially on a YouTube channel kind of thing. And then somebody tried to do a sell thing where they were guaranteeing your love back, or, you're making money, getting a job, and all that kind of stuff on, I think, 3 different videos. So I took those off as well. And, just to talk about that as a general subject, if somebody puts a link up on the channel for an external video thing or something like that, at this point I've stopped watching them to make sure that they're not appropriate. I'm assuming that they're not appropriate. So if there's something we do want to have in the future, then send me a message and let me know, and we can talk about it and decide if that's what we want to have up there. But, that's just that. Canary says hello. Hi, Canary. Jonathan says, Ryder, life is weird, not good weird or bad weird, just strange. Yes, I agree with that sentiment. Trinity says, that's crazy. Was that about me jumping over the fire and the things telling me to stop, or the people putting stupid stuff on the YouTube channel? Ryder says, maypole dancing is so beautiful to watch and so much fun to participate in. Very colorful, too. Yes, it's extremely colorful. Ryder at Jonathan, waiting for things to pick up a little. Yeah, I think Jonathan is about ready to have his Samhain next week. I think it would be next weekend. And of course, we've got the full moon coming, which is always an intense time for sensitives, it seems. I certainly feel the energy as it starts to build and that kind of stuff. Oh, and an update on that possible paranormal investigation. I went on the meeting locally at a park outside and talked to these, it was a couple, 2 women, and they really just needed to have somebody let them know that, they weren't crazy, and to give them some ideas of how to deal with it. It doesn't sound like it is at the level of an event where, dangerous things might be trying to happen. No scratching or clawing or throwing of things, just the seeing some stuff. And it seems like the one woman may be a blocked sensitive, and she's starting to become unblocked. And so this is all kind of new to her and sort of anxious producing. So I think I told them if anything else happened, or if they needed any more input or information or to talk about it, they could let me know. And I was, perfectly willing to see what was going on. So there's that. Yes, the links are crazy. Dylan Bernardo Kramer says, hi, I'm new to magic. I've performed multiple rituals and invocations, and disappointingly nothing happened. Do you know how I can contact a demon or Lucifer successfully? Thank you. No, the answer to that question is I don't know how you can contact them successfully. I don't work with demons. And if that's the path you want to follow, I would recommend looking into. There's a Church of Satan and the Luciferians and stuff like that who work with those energies specifically, and maybe get some training in ceremonial magic, because they depend heavily on ceremonial style of magic in order to do those types of activities. So that would be about it. Jonathan says, yay, Samhain, watched Siofra's emotional video. Yeah, that was very emotional, incredibly powerful and helpful. I'm glad. I'm glad that that was helpful to you. That's one of the things that's interesting about this entire platform, is being able to share things like that. And I never know when I start talking where things are going to lead. It's like a surprise to me as well as everyone else. But yeah. So, this path is all about personal transformation and being real and genuine. And if I wasn't, then that would become apparent really quickly, I think, to most people. I don't think that the average person can maintain that level of, what's the word, fakery, believably, for an extended period of time. At least I hope not. Unless, of course, they're a sociopath, which is like a whole different thing. So someone wrote in a question about Diana, the goddess, who has become associated with the Greek goddess Artemis. Diana, of course, is the Roman version. And I did a little bit of research, and the main thing I can say about that is to do some research for the person who's interested in that. Try and find poetry and stuff like that. I mean, both Artemis and Diana are associated with animals and childbirth and family, and there's different aspects to them, and they both seem to have been associated with the triple goddess, moon goddess. So all phases of the moon, different aspects of that goddess energy are associated with it, and it's always interesting to find out more as far as what they like. That's one of those things. I don't know every goddess out there, so do the research and try and figure out which aspect you're involved in. And, considering that they're both goddesses of the hunt, the fact that we associate them now with protecting animals, I think, is interesting, because she was all about hunting them in the beginning. Both of them were. So, for food and stuff like that. So deities, goddess and goddesses, they change over time. They evolve with the needs of the people that they're associated with, I think, is probably part of it. Let's see. So Canary said at Dellen, if you're new to magic, please don't go summoning demons. At least get to know the feel of different energies. Just getting into it, you might not even be able to read the entity. I agree. I think that's a good idea, which is why I recommended the Western Hermeticism type ceremonial magic. At least that gives a format for control. Jonathan says you can look at the Lesser Key of Solomon and it will slowly destroy you. That's perfect. Sorry, we are working with serious themes. Yeah, well, you're in a serious time of the year for you. Chantel says, do you work with saints at all? No, not in particular. I work with goddesses that have been demoted to saints, I guess, like Bridget, for example. I mean, yeah. I mean, the word saint itself it depends on, are you talking about Guru, Swami, saint, Indian saints, or Christian Catholic saints, or, yeah, so probably not in either case, actually, so it just depends. Yes, the hunter becoming the protector. Well, yeah, and that makes sense because if you deplete your resources, there's nothing left to hunt. So you'd have to be both, you'd think, right? You'd have to, I mean, ancient people knew that. There's all these different stories about the law of the hunt and that kind of thing to teach the people the right way to not deplete their resources and to protect the animals. In fact, when I lived in when I lived in the Kispiox Valley up in northern British Columbia, I bought a children's book called The Mountain Goats of Stekiden, which was a native story about the local mountain, which I can't remember its English name at this point, because Stekiden was its actual native name, which meant big brother, and it had like a bunch of smaller mountains nearby, which were his sisters or whatever. But it was really interesting to read the traditional story because the way they laid it out, it was like there was the tribe had forgotten the law of the hunt and were being abusive to animals, and the young children watched the hunters, the men of the tribe, abusing the animals and not taking care of them and not treating them with respect. And so they learned bad behavior from watching the adults. And then there was a small mountain goat that these boys were torturing. And the boys would be pulling the mountain goat towards the fire until its face started to burn, and then throwing it into the river until it started to freeze, and then taking it out and putting it back to the fire, going back and forth like that. And this one young boy saw this happening and knew that it was wrong, and so he actually rescued the young mountain goat and got him out of the village and released him. And the mountain goat could speak and thanked him for his, for saving him. And then the following year or so, a new tribe suddenly appeared from the mountain, came down Mount Stekiden, and they were, all brightly colored and all decked out in mountain goat themes and things like that, and invited the tribe to come up to have, a big potlatch and celebration and feasting and all this other stuff. And so all of the people, the young men, the hunters, and a lot of the boys went up there. And when they went up there, the this one young warrior who had scars on his faces came over to the young man or young boy who had saved the mountain goat and told him to stand near the center post that held up the lodge. And so he did. And then at some point, the warriors, dancers got up and they were performing the story about what the village people had done to the mountain goat people. And as they did it, and they pounded their feet on the ground or on the stage, they created an avalanche and turned back into mountain goats. And the whole lodge fell down and killed everyone except for the young boy who was there at the center post. And then the young warrior turned back into the mountain goat and gave him a cloak made from mountain goat fur or hide or whatever, and led him down the mountain so that he could go back to the tribe and tell them the story of how this happened. And his family totem became the mountain goat. That was their family crest from that time on. And I just thought that was just a really interesting story. I loved finding that book. It was definitely there's a myth in the Kispiox about a village that vanished basically. No one knows where it went and what happened to it. Some theories are that it got covered up by a volcanic eruption or something, because there's definitely some volcanoes up in that area. But anyway, I thought what a great way to teach younger generations about the right way to behave and the consequences of not behaving correctly. So, yeah, that was just sort of one of those things. So, people are trying to convince Dylan not to do what he says he wants to do, which I can understand. So, let's see. Jonathan says the saint can basically mean anything in this community. Yeah, that's true. It's not a very specific term. Canary says, at Dellen, at least tell me you know ways to protect yourself. Protection magic should be the first thing you do, especially if you want to connect with entities. Yeah, negative or positive entities can be overwhelming with your energy. And then added, have you considered nothing is happening because someone is trying to protect you? Yeah, that could be. That can happen. Jonathan says the greater key of Solomon is about precautions for protections, about dealing with demons, and even Ian is wary about trying that stuff, even though they know a guy named Laundromat who does it. Okay. Oh, that's Laundromat. that's what Laundromat is. Laundromat, yes. He's actually in the OTO. We met him once. Ryder says, I love that story. Thank you for sharing it. You're welcome. Violet says, beautiful story. Thank you. Awesome story, says Charity. Frankie says, love that. And at Jonathan from Canary, it's not a question of power. It's inviting someone into your space. I'd hope you wouldn't have a serial killer in your house. A demonic spirit has that energy. Well, depending on one's definition of demonic or demon, because there's a lot of things that are called demons that aren't what we would traditionally consider demonic, like evil, negative kind of stuff. It can just mean a spirit. Lon Milo. Yes. Yeah, he is he had, when we went to dinner with him, he had an Aleister Crowley Pez dispenser. There was not very many of them around, but apparently someone made some curly-headed dispensers, and he just thought that was the greatest thing, so he was showing it off and taking Pez's out of it, so that was pretty funny. It was kind of entertaining. But there's a lot of people that have that notion in the magical community that the quote-unquote demons that they talk about are just parts of yourself, and so if nothing actually exists outside of yourself, try arguing that with a cat, then whatever you're doing is just learning how to control an aspect of yourself. And I personally think that's a bad idea because that assumes that nothing besides human beings have independent reality out, it's like anything that we don't understand or that moves in the dark or whatever is just a projection of our own. And I think that kind of sets us up for some potential hazardous activities, especially when we find out we're wrong. Violet says there is a beautiful link to a Lon Milo D interview on Inside the Magic Circle with Jason Augustus Newcomb. It is 2.5 hours of wonderful. So Canary says, yeah, there's entities that I don't cast as a demon that have been called demons, just miscategorized. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is like, what kind of beings do you want to interact with? There's how many different types of spirit beings are there potentially out there from, the entire spectrum of everything in the universe. Do you really want to be friends with all the humans that are out there? You pick and choose the people that you want to interact with, right? You make sure that the people that you invite into your home are going to be respectful of your space and respectful of you as a person, and not try to change you and turn you into something else or attack you and harm you. So I would think that basic need to decide for yourself what kind of energies you wanted to have around you should naturally extend to the spirit world. Ant hills are fine if they're outside. I don't really want to have an ant hill inside of my house. It's like, yeah, you got to figure out how you're going to work with things and whether things work with you. Yeah. But anyway. So Canary says, there are many realms. It's arrogant to think it's only us. Yes, I completely agree. That is hubris for sure. Jonathan says, here's a suggestion. A big tree can be extremely powerful for positive or negative. They are much more approachable for a beginner like me. Yeah, and if something hits it like a lightning bolt or something like that, it can fall on you and crush you. Bam! You're just flat as a pancake. And it might not have been personal at all, right? That's the thing, is when you're working with certain kinds of energies, you can end up getting harmed and hurt, and it may not be personal. Just sort of like when I got stuck out in the ocean and almost drowned. It wasn't personal. It wasn't. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I wasn't being as cautious as I should. Again, I was like, Ian had never been in a warm ocean before, and he wanted to try it out. I should have known better and stopped him. He feels really bad. That would have been a horrible end to our relationship. I don't think he would have gotten over it. And but it wasn't like the powers of the ocean were trying to destroy me. I just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so we need to take care of ourselves. I was watching, there's a couple of nature shows on right now that I've been watching, which are fascinating. And one of them, they're starting to, they figured out like how other animals see, and differently from us, like see in the ultraviolet spectrum or the infrared spectrum, and not in just the visual light spectrum that we see in. And they've created new types of cameras so that they can actually see what, like, the insects are seeing, or the antelope are seeing, why things are the color they are, and whether that actually is a problem or not. And it's just really cool. And to find out that the animal on Earth that has the most amazing ability to see things in more ways than anything else is the Manta Shrimp. This little guy has 12 different kinds of photoreceptors in his 2 different eyes that can look in any direction independently of one another. So they haven't really figured out yet exactly what that manta shrimp can see, because they're still trying to figure out what those photoreceptors do, exactly what wavelength they see. And I think this is the reason why some of us see spirits and some of us don't. It's like some people are just equipped with the ability to see in different spectrums than other people. And we know that those other light spectrums exist. It's, quite clear and easily to prove, scientifically speaking. And so why we have this resistance to believing that someone is seeing something that someone else isn't is sort of interesting, the whole societal judgment thing about that, and trying to, keep things in their place and not like be a squeaky wheel or whatever that makes people feel uncomfortable, because then they have to reevaluate their entire reality and what does it mean. Make room for the possibility of something else. It's just sort of interesting. Okay, anyway. So Chantel says, what are some of your new projects you are doing? Wand, spells, etc. Right now, I'm not doing anything specifically new. I have been sleeping with my fairy wand for the last couple of nights and working on seeing my aura better and allowing that to happen with my eyes open. So, yay. And I just, I've been at this for so long. It's like every day, it's just whatever the day brings, whatever the day needs. Paying attention to the energy in my community. We've had a weird week in our county, where some people have died under bad circumstances, and that's not a common occurrence. And so, and people have been driving like idiots. It's sort of infectious. In fact, on the way home this morning from getting Ian his vaccine, we watched somebody running a red light in front of us, and Ian says, "I'm just so glad you're cautious." and you wait to see what's going to happen, because I was first in line, and I would have, if I'd gone when the light turned green, I would have ended up getting pancaked by this idiot. So paying attention to what's going on in my life and what's happening right now is where I'm at. It's like I've done a lot of the work. I used to do like the cup transformation thing on a daily basis when I was going through all that shadow work and transforming my subconscious and doing the dream work and looking at my dreams every day, and trying to figure all that stuff out, doing all the channeling and ritual. I mean, it was that was the time for me to do all that. And now it's more of a, oh, let's see, what's happening today? What do I want to, pull out of my hat or what have you? And sharing the stuff that I've experienced with you guys is part of what I am doing. This has become part of my work, I guess, at this stage. Like nose needs to be blown. Where's the toilet paper? Here we are. All right. Gotta blow the nose. Did take an antihistamine. We have allergies. They were so much fun. Now, the full moon is coming, and at this point, I usually do the charging up of my amethyst battery crystals every full moon, just to add energy to that whole project that we're doing. And since it's just Ian and I, we haven't been like charging up the item that's above us in here, the ball of peace or whatever that thing is. I think it was a peace ball, trying to help the energy out there and stuff. So, and then, helping somebody who said they were freaking out and needed to talk to me. So those are the kinds of things that I'm doing, answering questions when I can. I've been thinking about the wands I have left to make, because I need to make a fire wand and an earth wand and a Jupiter wand. So I think that's about the end of the wands I'm going to need. So I've been thinking about it, but haven't done anything yet. Hopefully that's inspirational enough. Writer says, Violet, without sounding all holier than thou, because I don't mean to, be true to yourself and others, and you will be on the path that is true. You are on it. Canary says, like when boats landed on an island that was very, very less advanced than them, and they couldn't see the boats. Oh yeah, exactly. Because they'd never encountered anything like that before, and so they couldn't recognize the fact that they were right there in front of them. Jonathan at Dellen, what do you think? I hope you are still here. Siofra and Ian can give you tools to improve your life with real magic. Are you put off by our answers? I guess we'll find out. Writer says, my face is feeling a little sunburned at the moment. I had an acid peel. Oh, wow, okay. That would make your face feel a little bit sunburned. It's supposed to be very good for the skin, helps get rid of all the dead skin and stuff. Hopefully you're putting something soothing on it now that you have that. Violet says, I believe the Goetta entities are divine intelligences, teachers, and are the dark side of the light side of the zodiac energies. I've never invoked or evoked one, but I feel them around me, popping up to say hello in a good way, not a bad way. But I will find for sure what high energies are before I ever did the dark ones. I am naturally pulled to both light and dark sides of it. Well, yeah. I mean, that's balance, right? Emily says, I think I've added 1 amethyst to your web, and I have 3 more to add, charging all of them for the next few nights, as I always try to do. Oh, awesome. Yay. Thank you very much. The more we add to it, as far as I can tell, the better. And Ryder says, yes, I have an Aftercare Moisturizer. Good girl. You definitely want to moisturize after you peel. Balance, yes. Well, the definition of good and evil and dark and light is part of our problem as a society, and getting into magic. There's so many things like that are out there where people have decided this is bad, this is good, and compared to what exactly. So using common sense is definitely important when it comes to that kind of thing. But like I said, you decide what kind of energy you want to have around you. And there are so many different beings out here to work with. I got to pick and choose, right? Who's going to get my time and energy for that? Julia Lumina says, haven't been around in far too long. Missed you. Well, glad you're back. Yay. I love your last name that you picked, Lumina. Luminous, light. Is that for the moon or just general light kind of thing? Just curious. So are any of you going to be doing a maypole dance, a Morris dance, or a maypole celebration, or any of the other stuff I talked about in my video? Just curious. Canary says, oh yes, I know people that would burn me at the stake if given half a chance. Oh, I know. And that can be very upsetting. Ian came home one day when he was listening to radio station when he was working for the state, and he was very upset because it was a Christian talk radio station. It's like, oh my, not a good not a good thing to listen into. And the way they were talking about witches, it was like if they thought they could get away with it, they would still burn us at the stake. And I'm like, yeah, unfortunately. So Violet says, Beltane? Yeah, that would be May Day coming up. Julia says, thank you so much. It's actually my real second name, and my parents meant it as General Light. Well, that would make sense. And good for them. Nice to have a name that suits, you know. My birth name didn't suit me at all, so it never did. I never liked it. Writer says it's upsetting because it's mostly based on their imagination and fears. Yeah. Frankie Gore says, I'm throwing my own little Beltane celebration with my roommate, wine, cakes, and hopefully some time outside is the plan. I want to do a maypole, but not quite sure how to start in making one. Okay, so when we didn't have a maypole, what we did was we found a tree in the park, and for several years, that was our maypole tree, and we would just wrap our ribbons around the tree and then run around the trunk, and and it loved it. And then we took the ribbons with us when we left, so we weren't like, strangling the tree or anything like that. And we had to pick up pine cones around the base before we ran, so we wouldn't fall down and kill ourselves or injure ourselves or what have you. But we have done PVC pipe, small ones that were handheld ones. We now have a permanent one, a portable one that we built 3 years ago. And it's a PVC pipe with a big base. Ian made the base, a wooden base, so we can tie the ribbons around the pole and then put the pole in the base, and then it's solid enough. We have buckets, 5-gallon buckets filled with sand that we put around the bottom of the base to keep it stable so it doesn't like fall over. And that's one of the problems. Traditionally, cutting a pole and then a sapling, some not too small, depends on the size of your thing. But yeah, so let me go back up here before I get lost. Yeah, and we painted our PVC pipe. What color did we paint it? Where is it? It's on the ground somewhere. I think we painted it purple. We painted the base green, but no, it was aqua. We painted it in an aqua color, so we spray painted it to protect it, that kind of thing. I'm not sure where the heck our pole is. And I have a smaller one that I used for the prison, when I went to the prison, that was just sort of a tabletop kind of a thing. And then I became the thing that held the pole. I held the pole, and then they danced around me, which was lots of fun. Canary says, yes, they would. Emily says, I braided hemp ropes and am making white and red cotton braids that I'm tying on them, going to find a good tree and a reserve near us and do a ceremony with my boyfriend. Sounds like a good thing. Violet says, this is the first year I've honored the seasons and I have Beltane marked for something special. May Day, ooh. Ryder says, would love to do a maypole dance again. Have not done one in years. I would do it again if I knew where there was one. So much fun. Hopefully next year we'll be able to start branching out and doing that kind of stuff again without too much anxiety producing things. Violet says, I used to hang flowers in a paper cup on doorknobs, knock and run away. Well, that sounds like a lovely thing to do. Wasn't this also May baskets and stuff where I think it was that one of the traditions was that people would put food and flowers and fruit and stuff like that in a basket and put them on the doorsteps of people that initially people that needed an extra hand, and knock on the door and run away so that they didn't feel embarrassed about who gave it to them. I think I did May baskets for my kids a couple of times where I would do that. And it's just sort of fun. And you never know what you're going to find. I had one year in Santa Cruz where it was just before our May Day celebration, and I was looking for some flowers, and I had noticed this abandoned house. It had been obviously a well-kept garden at one point, but it was all overgrown, and they had flowers, all kinds of flowers, and they were all blooming because it's warmer. And they had these wonderful fuchsia blossoms, like the double ones with the, they're all just lovely. And I sat in front of their abandoned house and had all these flowers that I had picked and grasses and stuff, and I made my own flower wreath. And birds were landing on the pole on the wires nearby and singing at me while I was doing all this. And it was just a wonderful little magical moment. And I felt like I fit. It was like this was the perfect place for me to be at the perfect time. And it was one of those just wonderful moments. So you never know. These things can just find you. I don't really follow the seasons, Canary says. Not safe to do that in this day. Well, yeah, with the pandemic and whatnot. Oh, those are great ideas. Thank you, Frankie. You're welcome. Violet says you should, Canary. It's super important. Well, everyone's going to have different things that are important to them depending on where they're at in their life. Ryder says that Violet, that's so cute. Yeah, it is. And Canary says, no dancing for me. Well, you can dance in your brain, in your mind. You can take an out-of-body experience and dance on the other planes, because there you don't have to worry about what your body's up to. And you're skinnier, too, and your hair is a lot longer, which is way cool. That was one of the things I remembered when I saw my astral form just before everything went to hell. It was like I had this very long, flowing hair, and it kind of floated like it was in the water. So, yeah. So do it out of body and in your brain. You don't have to do it physically. Just still enjoy the idea of dancing. Jonathan says, Samhain, going to do the last harvest. Respect the aspects of Braham and associated with that gratitude. Then make a hearty meal and share some love, community, and friendship. Sounds like a good thing. You're going to do any scrying or talking to the dead or honoring the dead, having a extra plate set at your dinner for someone who's passed over to the other side is kind of traditional. You could do that. Violet says season, elements, planets, zodiac are very important to me. Emily says, I'm waiting to hear back from the judge if I get disability within the next month. I keep getting things that say in May, when the weather is warmer, that things will manifest. Any May Day tips? Well, just enjoy the flowers and harvest and birds and all that other stuff that's out there. Just, the spring is coming and everything is getting ready to produce, in the northern hemisphere at least. Okay, Canary says at Violet, I've never followed astrology or seasons or full moons. I just do what I do if I feel pulled to or want to do it. I'm more spontaneous. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're naturally in tune with the seasons, whether we know it or not, because, the weather changes and we have to adapt, right? Jonathan says, how were you and Ian chosen for high priest and priestess? Democracy? Emperorship? Well, we're the last ones standing. Well, okay. When we are not in a tradition where you're tasked with being that, but in this case, it was the people that had the most experience and knew what they were doing. And so those were the roles that we generally did. Although I kept trying to get people to step up into those roles and train them for that. It was weird. It was like everybody seemed to be working together really well at one point, and we were all on track. And I thought, okay, so now's the time to start some serious stuff. I gave everybody a very basic homework assignment to find a deity that they connected with, write an evocation for that deity, and gave them a format for an evocation with all the different parts to it that was traditional, and that's when the group started breaking up. So, some people just don't like to do the work, I guess, and that's unfortunate. There's I did all these little discs with the roles on them, the god and the goddess, which would be the high priest, high priestess, the elements, and everything, with the idea that we were going to start using those because we were getting more people, and then everybody would go in and pick out a little disc, and whatever was on it, that was their job for that ritual. So if they picked out something that represented the fire, then they would evoke the fire element, or whatever it happened to be. And I thought that would be a good way of kind of making it universal, let people do whatever. We've had women who've done the God in our circle when Ian wasn't available. So it doesn't have to be like a gender specific kind of thing. And I've met men who are really more comfortable with doing the goddess invocations and that kind of thing. So that's not what it's about. I think that the idea of a high priest and high priestess has to do with the teaching role that we do. And when you're doing a circle, if you're going to do a ritual and you're going to raise a bunch of energy, you need someone who knows how to pay attention to the energy and how it's right where it's raising when it peaks, because you can raise a lot of energy and then it can just, if you keep on going, it just starts to peter out and then there's nothing there. So generally speaking, the high priestess is often the one who does that particular job of keeping track of the energy and where it is and when it's ready, and then tells everyone now is when we're going to release it. And so you take your cues, because you got to have some conductor, I guess, some kind of direction or what have you. Otherwise, you might as well just be doing it by yourself and you probably get better results. So I think that has to do with that. Yeah. I mean, I've been in some circles and experiences where people are really good at raising energy and then don't know what to do with what they've raised. So there has to be some kind of a structure there to help with that. So and if you can't do that, then that's not a good role, right? If you're unaware of the energies of people, like when we were doing the group and I would do the tree meditation and the healing chant, my role in doing that was not just to say the words, but I was reading everyone's energy. I was keeping track of whether they were actually grounding or not, where they were at in it, how well they were doing it, whether we were in sync. And so it's like, it would just seem like I was just talking and saying the words, but I'm doing a lot of other stuff at the same time. So not everybody can do that, and it's a skill. I had to work at it. But yeah, I'm very busy when I'm doing that kind of thing with groups of people. So Frankie says, I've never heard of May baskets. I like that idea. Way better than Easter baskets. Maybe that's where they got the idea. Jonathan says, thin veil, black mirror scrying. Cool. All right. Frankie says, would divination and scrying be good to do on Beltane too, as well as Samhain? Well, the veil is just as thin, apparently, on May Day or Beltane as it is on Samhain. I think that the kinds of things you tend to get in that thinning of the veil is more connection with earth stuff, at least for me. But yeah, certainly is a good time to do that. Just like pretty much any full moon, or dark of the moon, depending on what you're looking for. Canary says, I am prone to seeing things I don't understand. Why my scrying mirror isn't doing anything for me. It's mad. I thought I'd be good at it. Well, again, it's a process. I saw something the other night. It hasn't happened again, but it was like after I'd done the exercise, seeing my aura and stuff, and I was getting ready to go to sleep, I had a vision of a person in like some kind of a baseball cap. It was very distinct. It was little. It was like I was seeing this picture from far away, but it was very detailed and in focus, but I couldn't really see any reason why I was seeing that. I mean, it didn't have any implications for me as a person. I just thought, okay, that's interesting. Guess we'll see if anything comes of that. But I did have that one experience when that guy spent the night where I kept seeing a slideshow just happen. I had to make him ground. I had to ground him out so that he would stop sending me pictures in my head, because I my house. So I felt I had the right to stop that from happening. He didn't know he was doing it at all. So, there's different phases we go through. Writer says, the pink blossoms this year are incredible. Around me, it's all pink. I have noticed it more this year. I love color. Violet says, disability is not fun to wait for. I did that and was denied, but my situation is different from yours. I was not successful and it took years. I do love the Day of the Dead, though, Canary says. Charity says, I saw my grandmother when I was about 8 years old. She appeared to me like an angel after a very traumatic experience. I still think she something me, but she died a year before I was born. Visits. I think that was supposed to be visits. And so you could be one of those people where she is like a guardian, family, what's the word? I hate it when my words go away. The tradition that people have, the family tradition. It'll come to me in a minute. They made an adorable animation of the Day of the Dead by Disney or Pixar, I forget. Coco. Damn it, the hell is that word? Some people have guardian spirits, other people have family members from the past that they deal with. That's whatever that word is. Maybe you can tell me what that word is. I'd love to go to Mexico during the Day of the Dead. That's coming up. They have different Days of the Dead all around. Jonathan says, almost forgot. Great time to give offerings and get closer to the trees and the fae. Yes. Writer says, it does sound good and intriguing, something different for each ritual. And Canary says, is it normal for words to come to you when you're doing magic without knowing any? Sometimes. Sometimes I get that clear, odd. See, there he goes again. Apparently, the one where you know stuff, I get that. Not today, but most of the time, where all of a sudden it's just like a thing will pop into my head and I'll just know everything about it. And it's just kind of weird. And every so often a word will pop in. Ian gets that happen too. And every so often he'll come out and he says, do you know what blah, blah, blah is? And we'll look it up and it'll be exactly what he thought it was. He had like a vision of one of those ancient, not a spear, but a type of staff that has like a big cone on the top or whatever. It was all detailed. You make it out of a plant. Yeah, a big one that grows outside. Anyway, yeah, he got all the details of that one. Apparently today is not the day for that, but I do get that happens. I see lots of things I don't understand without trying. Yeah. Writer says, I'm going to be doing some scrying. I've been getting the urge to do some. Might do some for the full moon this month, but I'll be doing some in May for sure. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, I don't see a reason. I don't do scrying in particular at this point to find out what's coming, because it's like I've got my spirit people and my connections with energy, and if there's something I need to pay attention to, all of a sudden it'll pop up, either in a dream or in a TV show or in a book or in a conversation. We get a lot of that synchronicity stuff where we suddenly are talking about one subject and then the next 3 TV shows we watch mention the same word, which is like, how did they know we were going to talk about that? Which is always interesting when that happens. It's like cycles of certain types of energy. And I'm not doing it for other people, so I'm kind of pretty confident where my life is headed at this point. There's nothing ahead of me that I'm like wondering what's going to happen next. Things are just sort of unfolding like they should, and I feel good as far as that goes. Canary Jonathan says, 100% yes, that's how the spirits and forces of the nature of the universe function. Canary says, I see 2 people I don't know on a park bench during meditation, and I saw a woman in a hospital bed once. No connection to me whatsoever. Ancestors. Thank you. That's it. That's the one. It's ancestors. Ancestor worship. Couldn't think of it at all. At least my descriptors worked, right? So Canary says that, Jonathan, it's been happening to me lately as I'm doing altar work and such. I go with it, but then after I'm a little like, oh, so that just happened. I don't really know what I've done. And sometimes that's the case. It's sort of not a bad thing to have things happen spontaneously. Violet says, your gift of sight, I do not have that gift yet. I do have magical moments daily, though. Since I've invited magic into my life now, it is so slow and soft and subtle. Lots of hindsight moments make sense now. And I think that's really part of the nature of it. It's like it's there all the time. It's always around us. It's a matter of us changing our focus and allowing ourselves to see what's been in front of our faces the entire time and start to make connections. That's why, mindfulness, living in the moment, being in yourself, knowing who you are, that's why those things are so important, because the more of you know who you are, the better you'll get those messages and the clearer they become. And I was thinking about that. We've talked about the whole notion that when you start to try and balance yourself with the elements, then some of your natural gifts seem to sort of disappear and go underground or go away. But then when they come back later, they're under control and they're stronger. And I believe that that's what's happening with me seeing auras, because I remember seeing them as a kid and seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. But being able to see the colors so vividly with my eyes open is it's new from this point in my life. If I had that happen as a kid, I'm not sure if I remember it or not. But the fact that I can now see actual vivid colors, like somebody just painted it, better than a 3D animation on a TV show or whatever. And it's just way cool. I really like the color of my aura. It's a really nice green. It's just like this emerald green, just sort of spews out. It's really cool. So I'm thinking that I'm benefiting now from all the work that I did, and things are integrating like they should. So I'm not specific this, specific that, or whatever. It's just sort of everything's available, but what do I need now, kind of thing. And then I can control it better, so I won't be wandering out in traffic following the green light. So I'll be aware of my environment at the same time and keep myself safe. So Canary says, I can feel like someone else coming through, like channeling, to be honest. Yeah, and that can happen. Automatic writing is one of the ways of doing that too. Get messages from your higher self or whatever. Audrey says, do you think it's possible to have, as a child, unknowingly made a contract with Fae? I left consistent offerings for them a long time as a small child, and one time I took a glass gem I found at the offering site. Okay, so this notion of having made a contract with the Fae or any other spirit is a huge thing that's out there. And I don't think it's real. I don't think you can make a contract with a spirit being, but it is a lot more specific and a lot more difficult than just taking a gift that's offered by a spirit. And the fact that you were giving them gifts and they gave you something back to honor the fact and to acknowledge the fact that you'd given them. It's I don't know where this fear of the Fae comes from. I really don't. I don't understand it. So if there is something real to it, I'm the wrong person to ask. But they're a part of our world, and if I had to pick between having an encounter with what people think of as demons and the Fae, I'd pick the Fae every time, because at least they're not inimical to human life or have bad intentions necessarily. Again, just like anything in nature, it can be dangerous, but I don't think that you can make a contract with them by picking up a bauble that they left behind or by accepting their help when they offer it. It's you do stuff for your friends, and if you're not a crazy person, you're not hopefully keeping a tally and deciding, like, okay, so I did like 11 things for you and you only did 10 things for me, so now you owe me one. It's like it's a matter of give and take, and sharing the energy, the knowledge, the information, or what have you. It's not There's not like a big tally or thing in the spirit world that's deciding that this is what's going on. If you want to make an actual contract with a spirit being, you have to agree that on purpose that you want them to do you a specific kind of a favor, and in exchange for that favor, then you will serve them later. You will do something that they want and serve them after you're dead. You'll go to their kingdom, their spirit plane, or what have you, and that can happen. And if you're constantly asking a spirit to do stuff for you, and you're not putting forth any work on your part on your side, and it's not like their general job or inclination to do that, and they go out of their way to do it for you, then that way you can make an accidental contract with a specific realm of beings. So if you like over focus completely, if everything you do has to do with the Venusian sphere and you never do anything else but that, and you become enamored of all things Venusian, and you rearrange your entire life to fit that whole energy and stuff like that, and you align yourself that completely with a specific energy sphere or a specific spirit, then you're going to be pulled after death into that energy because you've made that conscious connection with them, which I think is more likely what they mean by contract anyway. It's not like a piece of paper. It's not like in the movies where you sold your soul to the devil, and then when the devil is going to give you what you want and he's going to come and take it. It's like these are like stories that may not have any actual basis except to keep people from exploring things that other people decide are dangerous. So hopefully that helps. Apparently that one had a lot of things in my head that popped out. Audrey says, I seem to remember that I had a slight feeling I shouldn't have taken it, but went against that intuition. Yeah, so I don't think that you're in trouble there at all, really. And Jonathan says that I have a video on discernment, which is a good video to watch because that is something that's important. When I started doing this channel, what I wanted to do was to cover the subjects that not everybody was talking about, the things that have meat to them that you can apply to almost any situation. So I started a thing on a deeper dive, and anyway. So Jonathan says to Audrey, Siofra will say nature, I say a place, the Fae would feel comfortable. Canary says at Jonathan, I'll check it out. I know it's nothing bad. I'm good at knowing when something is off. It actually feels healing, and I could stop if I so wanted. So what was that about? As I got distracted. Channeling, okay. Yeah, and it's up to you for sure. You have to be able to decide for yourself. Writer says that scrying is relaxing to me, helps me ground and focus, like looking into a candle flame. Sometimes I see things, hear things, smell things, but mostly to help me connect on a deeper level. So it's more of a mindfulness exercise. Emily says, my life has been so synchronistic lately. Santos Bonacci has some cool theories having to do with synchronicity. Terence McKenna says psychedelics lead to what indigenous people call land of ancestors. Ryder says, I guess it's like what it might be like if I were swimming with whales in the deepest depths of the ocean whilst being able to breathe. Sounds like fun. I like that. Canary says that Ryder, I can't scry. I genuinely thought I would be amazing at it, but I'm not. That's how this universe works. Well, it could be that you are, but you aren't seeing what you think you are going to see, because sometimes our ideas of what's going to come interfere with what actually comes. So letting go of the notion that your scrying should look like the other stuff that you see might help. So you might look at like body feelings. Sometimes when I'm doing paranormal investigations, I've started getting physical sensations, which is a new thing for me, physical mediumship, where I'll feel like a pressure on my chest or a wind or cold or heat on a cheek or whatever. So sometimes it's like a more subtle kind of thing, and if you're not just in the moment and paying attention, you might miss it. But keep it up. You never know. Maybe scrying just isn't for you. Philippa says your aura matches your hair then. Well, actually, my aura is greener than my hair. This is more aqua green, and my aura is more of an emerald green. But yeah, it's probably why I was attracted to it in the first place. Violet says, so I so far don't see in the moment, but after by making the connections. Michelle says, yay, got here on time to catch a live. Hi, Michelle. Jonathan says, Canary, Violet, Ryder, Siofra, everyone else, my friends have called me Jono since I was very young, and you are all my friends. Okay, Jono, I'll try to remember that. You might have to remind me. Ryder says that Canary, have you tried it in a glass bowl with water and some of that has an ink color added to it? It's another way of doing it. Canary says that Jono, we belong to the best coven ever. Yeah, we don't meet in person, so we're safe. Ryder at Michelle Man, hi. Jonathan says, Canary, we do. Canary says at Ryder, no, I haven't. I will try and have thought about it. I'm just being stubborn because I saved up for that mirror and want it to work. I often find that, looking at the mirror and then closing my eyes, I see better with my eyes closed than actually looking at the surface. Suzanne says, hi, favor and love at Siofra and everyone. Caught a live chat listening in. The neighbors, too. Okay, the fairy neighbors. All right. Canary says at Ryder, I'll try. Might be a lesson for me that money isn't everything, especially when it comes to this. And Canary, Ryder says, laugh out loud. Aw, I'll buy it off of you. Okay, we're having sales. Or not. Violet says, no balance that way. Canary says at Ryder, I just suck every time I try and use it. Well, you just never know. Keep at it, see what happens. Music energy coming in, Suzanne says. Notes. Yay. Ryder says at Canary, ooh, you could try a personalization type of spell on it. Makes it yours and helps to develop a relationship. The more you talk to it and clean it like a plant, the more it may work for you. Well, that would be a way of charging it up, so that's not a bad idea. Jonathan says, ladies, spray paint the back of a piece of window glass with black spray paint. Works amazingly. Siofra isn't going to replenish her Etsy site with universal condensers, so use chamomile tea to charge it. Well, we did buy a thing to stick the camera on, so we're one step closer. And I'm almost finished with my my Bridget, so that's kind of cool. Violet says, mindfulness is what I practice every morning. I see the tree inside my soul in a little tea light flame. I glow soft and slow because I feel old. Mindfulness is something you should practice every time you step out the door and every time you get into a car, every time you take a breath. It's not something you should have to practice like at a specific time, but practicing at a specific time gets you used to the idea of being in it as much as possible. Canary says that she'll try that at Ryder, and thanks for the advice. Adeline says, dang it, I'm late again. Well, only by a little over an hour. You need to set a clock. Suzanne Casey says, plant, heart, hug, and laugh. And Canary says at Ryder, funny you should say that someone called me out for neglecting my crystals. I'm like, it's not like it's a living thing. Oh, but it is. They have feelings too. And then Adeline says, wait, Siofra, you have an Etsy shop? Yes, I do. And I still have a couple of wands that I've made that are on it. I need to make more wands. I have lots of wood material that I collected on the new moon around Samhain last year, I think it was. Yeah. And I'm thinking, yeah, so we have a few things on there right now. I'm thinking of adding some of the stuff I have, my jewelry. I have a separate site for jewelry, and I thought, why don't I just combine them all? So if people wanted to buy any of the jewelry I make, they could, if they wanted to, and that'd be fine. Um, yeah, so I do have an Etsy shop. Not that I have a lot of stuff in it at the moment. And I did have Universal Condenser, which definitely sold. But we're going to have to make some more. Writer says at Canary, been there, need to charge my crystals this month, didn't do it last month. Well, hey, I don't need to charge my crystals except for like the amethyst in particular because I have my selenite doing that job for me all the time. It's like, give it a job it likes to do, let it do its thing. But every so often, different crystals want to sleep with me, so I put them under my pillow and then find them under my rear end in the morning and wonder, what is that weird hard thing under me? Oh, it's a rock. Okay. That was silly. Yeah, so I have to be careful when I sleep with rocks under my pillow. It's called Siofra's Magic Alcove. I try to keep it simple all across the board so that people could find me wherever they were. I also have a Facebook page, Siofra Bradigan, and feel free to send me a friend's request if you're on there. And you can send me messages that way or through my email, which is siofrasmagicalcove@gmail.com. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I might as well just like use the same name for everything. Makes it easier for me to remember. Suzanne waving at a dove on my backyard deck, hanging out eating under a bird feeder. Yeah, bird feeders are fun. You said the best time to do a return to sender was on the waning moon. Is that still truest for you, not the full? Well, yeah, because the return to sender, maybe not. You could do that before. This was a getting rid of the energy connection between you and someone else. And that was what you described to me. And so you do it right after the full moon. You can like look at one of those things and figure out exactly when the moon is starting to wane because it's actually only full for a second or two or a minute. And if you know the exact time, then you can plan it for right afterwards. And then you sort of take that spell that you're doing, that's sending the energy back to somebody and getting rid of their connection to you, and add that waning moon energy to it. So as the moon gets smaller, the energy that they can send gets smaller, their connection to you gets less until it's gone. And then there's nothing left. So that's how you would use the lunar energy. And in an emergency, you just do it whenever you need to. And you can put it in a candle and burn the candle down. You can do the same idea with that. It's like as the candle burns, the energy is decreasing, the connection's decreasing, and they can't affect me anymore, that kind of thing. So think it through, and what makes sense to you is what's going to work the best. So if that didn't make sense to you, then don't do it that way. And that's perfectly okay. So we all have a different thing. So Jonathan says, Siofra, please make an Etsy financial killing on Universal Condenser. Wouldn't that be nice? Violet says, oh yeah, when you told me about the whiskey evaporating into the air was super powerful and helps me understand the process better. All right, awesome. Canary says, do you make personalized wands? Well, the wands that I made are all individual. I think I have some myrtle wood. I'm not sure if I have myrtle wood or not left. I have some rosemary. I have some alder. I have some rhododendron. I'd have to look and see what all the other ones. I think I have some cedar. I have some apple. Then I have a bunch of crystals that I bought. And so each one that I made, I sort of felt the wood and looked at my crystals and decided what would feel good on that wood and those crystals and made them, didn't charge them up. But I collected the wood on the new moon. I gave offerings to the trees and their living spirits in these wands. So they're not like found on the ground giveaway kind of things. And so if you're not comfortable with that, then you don't want to buy them either. But they're there for you to, dedicate, charge up, consecrate, etc., and use. So that's where we're at with that. If that answers the question, I think. So Rochelle says, "Hi Siofra, do you think time is going by faster nowadays? Love your videos, thank you very much. And yes, the older you get, the faster it goes." Canary says, "I need to get rid of a few people by sending me bad vibes." Yeah, you want to definitely clean out your energetic closet. Spring is a good time for spring cleaning, right? Get rid of the bad energy. You don't need to collect that. Jonathan agrees with me. It's weird. The older you get, the faster time moves, and it's true. When you're younger, it's like a day seems like, I don't know, a month or a year. When you're older, it's like, depending on your age. Violet says, "I love you, girl. Thank you. I must fly for a 3 p.m. webinar. Adore you." Well, bye-bye, Violet. Have a good time. Enjoy your webinar. And writer at Jonathan says, "You are so right. Too fast." Adeline says, "What is the average for the prices in your shop?" Just look at the shop and see what the prices are. I don't know. Something that will make sense, because shipping is amazingly expensive. And when it's out of the country, it gets tricky. Because when I ship something to another country, it's like there's different fees involved, like the customs and and whatnot. And the couple of times when that's happened, I've had to let my customer know, it's like, it's going to cost this much. It's not going to be the regular kind of shipping, because this is like, and then then it doesn't even make sense with the wands for me to insure them, because the insurance would cost as much as the shipping, and all of that would be much more than the wand. So yeah, it's finances and merchandising is a weird stuff, but it's out there. So check it out and see what you think. Jonathan says, "Canary, do that carefully. Siofra's return to sender spells are safe." Suzanne says, decades go by like days where I'm at. Yes. And I know next year doesn't seem that far away to me. In fact, I'm going like the cherry blossoms are already done, and I missed them this year because I was busy doing something else. Canary says that Jonathan, I normally just keep cutting the cord, but vertical Christians be praying at me 24 freaking, yuck, days. Yeah, you definitely want to get like some kind of a giant mirror in the astral plane or the mental plane or whatever to redirect their prayers to back to where they are, so they can have their prayers if you don't want them. Most of the people I know that are Christian, I don't mind if they pray for me, because they're just general kind of, I hope you feel better prayers. But if they're praying to keep you from being a witch or doing your magic or being yourself or whatever you happen to be, you don't want them. You don't need that kind of stuff. So, Sabuek. "Hi, me and my girlfriend were just about to read the story of Baba Yaga, and we're just reaching for the phone to YouTube a song before doing so, and there you were with a live stream of magic. Well, welcome. And we're almost done, because we do 1.5 hours every Sunday. So maybe you can come back and watch shows and stuff like that and see what we're all about. And Baba Yaga is definitely an interesting myth." Jonathan says, "Suzanne, old soul." And apparently, I guess that's a yes. Adeline says, "My friend who is a witch went to Walmart, and when she left, she got preached at. And they gave her a cross necklace? Oh, my. Do not accept anything from a Christian." When my husband was going to the local community college, every time to get onto the property, he had to go through a bunch of missionary people. And they all were trying to give him a Bible. And they couldn't stop them because they were not technically on college property and whatnot. And he was really, really super annoyed. So I told him what he could do, but he didn't do it. So he had to continue to deal with it. But in the case of a Bible, I know the solution. You take the Bible, you go over to a garbage can, open up the book, tear out the pages, and throw them in the can. They will never give you another one again, because they really feel these things are important to them. And it's fine with me if they're important to them, but if they're annoying you, you know. And so if someone gives you something like that, like a cross, and you don't want it, throw it in the garbage. It's okay to not accept a gift from someone, especially someone who has ulterior motives. because that's not a gift. When I was channeling, one of the things that Moida said that always stuck with me was a gift is not truly a gift if it's not given freely. So she didn't say it that way. She said a gift given unless it, well, anyway, I'm paraphrasing her. I'll have to look it up. But a gift not freely given is not a gift at all. That's how she said it. And it's true. Because if someone gives you something with expectations attached and their energy attached and intent and all this other stuff, then that's not a gift. That's a magical spell they're trying to use on you. So someone held that one for review. Oh, YouTube. They're not praying for me. They think I'm literally Jezebel who has taken over the good Christian girl that used to be here. Well, that would be they're trying to exorcise you, and that's still not okay. That's even worse. Ian had that happen when he was a kid. His mother, when he was 12 years old, brought her entire church over and tried to get rid of the devil that was in him, so because she was convinced he was possessed by the devil. And that is a terrible thing to do to a child or to anybody, because what that says is that they think that you're evil. And, you know, he's a kind-hearted, loving individual, and he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. And I just, you know, it torques me in different directions when I think about it. It's like, I know people who know about my childhood who wish they could go back in time and murder my father, and I appreciate the sentiment, because that's kind of how I feel about Ian and what his mother and all those people did to him, because that's a statement that they're making about who they think you are, and it's not okay. It's just violence. It's emotional violence. So definitely stop them from sending you prayers. Like, send them back to them. They can do their own thing. Adeline thought that was funny that you dispose of the Bible. Ryder says, I am on your Facebook page. Was just looking at it and realized if I wanted to buy, I do so through Etsy. Yes. And people sometimes, I have a few patrons too that go to Patreon. And we also have the Super Chat feature on our live show. So if people want to like support me with what I'm doing or whatever, they're free to give me a small donation or whatever through the Super Chat feature on here. Because I'm not doing like special deals like different subscription levels and stuff like that all the other channels do, because that's just not me. I'm here, I'm available, and that's just the way it is. Okay, so let me back here. Sabu Jake says, hopefully God listens only to proper prayers. Yeah. Magic doesn't work that way. Prayers are magic. Prayers are energy. And sending negative energy like that to somebody is just not okay. I consider that black magic in my book. So, Emily says, I faced people like that a few times. Once, me and some other people sat across from them on campus as students at the time with signs egging them on and eating pizza. They were unhappy. Yeah. And Suzanne says, it must be freely. Yes, it must be. Strings attached, not a good thing. Emily says, another time it was very Bible-y people in Las Vegas, so my best friend, a female, and I doubled back to take a picture kissing in front of them. Oops. Making them feel uncomfortable. Not a bad move. Reality, you know? Canary says, if I get given a Bible from my grandparents, again I will draw a pentagram on it or a Luciferian symbol, even though I'm not into that. I just had enough. Yeah, I don't blame you. And like I said, it's like this whole thing about trying to convert other people to think like themselves is, it means that they're afraid of the existence of anyone who isn't like them, which is not a definition of inclusiveness in any way whatsoever. Ryder says, it's hard to accept something that is around people that think it's okay to persecute you for your beliefs and your lifestyle. They don't like it. They should understand. Jonathan says, I hope you guys are joking. Book burning is not a service to humanity. No, I'm not joking about putting the book in the garbage, because that's the only way to get them to take you seriously, because he kept saying, no, don't give me this book. And I'm like, yeah, I know how they think and how they feel about this. This would really get under their skin. I wasn't talking about burning it, just throwing it in the garbage. Canary says, yep, I've been exorcised so much even when I was still a Christian girl and I only had tonsillitis. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's that lack of belief in science that gets in the way. Mm-hmm. My voice was scratchy, so they thought I was possessed, and mental illness isn't a thing, apparently, just possession. I'm sorry. At Juno, burning that book definitely is a service to the sanity of humanity. Jonathan says, don't bother with Etsy, there's no fluid condenser. Writer says at Canary, I'm sorry that happened to you, that is not acceptable. We're on the same page. Emily says, you're here, you're available, and we are grateful. You're welcome. Adeline says, me and my friend are gay witches. The Christians in our class just love us. Well, that's good. To have some open-minded Christians around, there's nothing wrong with that. I have plenty of clients that I know that basically are open-minded, although sometimes they don't realize when they're not. I had like a conversation with one of my clients, and it was the day that Ian got upset about what he heard on the radio. And she said, well, that's not how Christians are supposed to act. She says, you invite the person over for dinner, and then you explain to them the error of their ways and try to convince them to change. And I just thought to myself, that woman has just insulted the hell out of me and has no clue whatsoever that was an incredibly insulting thing to say and to think of doing. Talk about passive aggressive. Whoa. But anyway, yeah. If we are who we are, and yes, you are correct, some witches are Christian, and if they can figure out how to do that, I'm totally in favor of it. It's just not for me. So Adeline said, laugh out loud, I was being sarcastic. Me and my friend are part of the LGBTQ plus community, and we get an exorcism every day. Canary says, you invite them over for dinner? Since I don't know what this means, I will let it go through since I can't see the whole thing. Emily says, my dad is a preacher. When she didn't have me hide from the Jehovah's Witnesses, she would invite them in and debate political theory and try to convert them over food. See, food is the universal thing to do. Sit down at dinner and spill your guts and try and change their mind. That's the thing I don't understand. It's like, I'm okay with people feeling and seeing and believing different than me. I judge people by their actions, not by their beliefs, because if I did that, yeah, no one's going to believe exactly the same way I do, because I'm unique. You're all unique. We're all unique. It's like everybody has got a different experience of the universe. We are all in our own center of our own universe, and no two of them are going to be exactly alike. But that's okay. I guess that means we're all snowflakes. Thinking of political correctness, not correctness, but political, yeah, people calling you a snowflake and saying that there's something wrong with you. I think if you're a snowflake, you're unique. So there. So, Canary says we should do that. Invite them over for dinner, have candles and a pentagram, and try to get them to perform a spell. Then see if it's okay to try and convert people that don't want to be converted. No kidding. Writer says, I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. Now I am just free to be. Yay. And that's a good thing. All right. Okay, guys. So we're up on an hour and 29 minutes and 18 seconds at this point. So I guess it's time for me to sign off. But hey, send me your questions and see what we can come up with. And do your research and tell me cool stories too. I love it. So thank you all for being here and for making my day. And I love I love laughter. Laughter is good medicine. So bye, everybody. Enjoy. And we'll get another one of those videos that I'm supposed to make done this week. All right. Love you guys. Good night and good day, depending on where you are.